Hey, what's going on? It's Clever Zodiambo, and today I'm going to show you how to mix paint, specifically when you're mixing paint for a portrait. So basically we're going to tackle skin colors, but the methods we're going to use in this video are applicable to anything else you're painting. So don't look at it as a video just about skin colors. Look at it mostly as a video about how to mix oil paints. Now the portrait you're going to be using as an example is going to be this old man over here, and as you can see, all the colors we're going to be using are what's called earth colors. So these are the browns and your reds and your oranges. So this should be a very simple exercise. When mixing skin colors generally, there's a number of colors that are always there. White is kind of a constant. Now, in terms of white, there's zinc white and titanium white. I don't really see a difference myself, but the one I'm using right now is titanium white, in case you find that distinction important. Now, the next color is yellow. I'm using deep yellow, and we're going to use a lot of this for this portrait, specifically because there's kind of a warm feel to this portrait. Colors are classified sometimes into warm and cool. So cool colors will be normally close to blue, and warm colors will normally be close to reds or the oranges, or basically just cool and warm temperatures. You can think of it as temperatures and how they normally represented in many different scenarios. So after the white and the deep yellow, we're going to go to orange. There's many different types of orange, but if you're buying oil paints, don't confuse it with another type called vermilion. Vermilion is pretty close to red, so it's orange plus a little red, but orange in its purest form is basically yellow plus some red. Then the other color I normally use is a color called yellow ochre. So this is yellow ochre over here. Then another color is going to be burnt sienna. You'll see how these colors all differ, and if you refer to the picture we're using, you can see how they're kind of connected to the skin color of the person we'll be painting today. So there goes our burnt sienna. Then the darkest color in my palette is normally burnt umber. I try to avoid black as much as possible unless I'm painting a black and white picture. I normally avoid using black because it's almost unnaturally dark for me, and I feel like it impurifies other colors. Also, since we're painting skin colors, you can see that burnt umber is pretty close to a natural skin color, so it's actually not that far away from my skin color. So it looks like the obvious next step in this progression. As you can see, I normally arrange my palette from light to dark. That makes it so much easier to know what part of the palette I should be picking any kind of paint I need next. Then another color that might be useful, also depending on what skin color you're painting. So if you're painting a white person, you're going to use more of this other color, and as you can probably guess, this is red. It's what will give you that pinkish kind of hue. Then there's something else I want to show you, and even though we don't directly use this in the skin color, I'm going to add it because it's something called a primary color, and this is blue. Now, if you're familiar with the concept of primary colors, there's normally three of them. There's blue, there's red, and there's yellow. The kind of blue, by the way, is also important. This is ultramarine violet. It's not really violet, it's blue really. There's another type of blue you want to avoid if you're looking for primary colors, and this is cerulean blue hue. This is ultramarine plus yellow plus white. That's what gives you cerulean blue. But for the primary colors in its purest form, if you're looking for blue, you want to go for the ultramarine. Before we get to mixing the actual skin colors, I'll show you the reason why I have these primary colors over here, why I have the ultramarine violet. Let's just call it blue. Why I have blue, why I have brilliant red, I'll call it red, and why I have deep yellow, I'll call it yellow. Sometimes if you go to shop for art materials or for paints in specific, there are some colors that are sometimes difficult to find, and I've struggled to find them before. Not so much nowadays, but yellow ochre and burnt sienna are not very easy colors to find. Orange is pretty common, but if you don't find orange, as you know, you can always mix a little red and yellow and you'll get yourself orange. But these two other colors, burnt sienna over here, this is the one that's close to red, and yellow ochre, which is close to yellow, I'm going to show you how to mix them with primary colors if you don't find them at your local art shop or wherever you shop for your products. So let's start with mixing yellow ochre. By the way, something about mixing colors, try not to memorize the proportions. Just look at a color, then try to decide for yourself, do I see some yellow here, or do I see more of red, do I see more of this and that? And by trial and error, you're going to end up with a pretty good idea of how to come up with any color you can see. And mixing colors will be much easier if you do it in a more freestyle way. So let's just estimate what kind of colors we see in this yellow ochre. So there's yellow, I've already picked some with my palette knife. I'm just going to place that here. Now it looks like a light color. It's closer to white than it is to burnt umber. So you're going to pick some white. So you're going to add a little blue over here. Now if you mix these three, we're going to get light green, but you don't want light green, you want yellow ochre. So let's just add a little red just to see what happens. If we mess up, we'll add other colors, but either way, this is the way you want to learn about mixing colors. Don't memorize anything. With trial and error, you'll figure out what works and what doesn't. It's almost there, but it looks too red. So the way to solve that, obviously you can't remove the red we've already placed in there, so you're just going to make it more green, and the way to make it green is to add a little more blue, because blue plus yellow gives you green, right? And if it gets too dark, we'll add some white. Also, something else you have to remember when mixing paint is you don't have to nail it. As long as you get close, nobody will really scrutinize you. A little blue and lighten it just a bit. And this right here can pass for yellow ochre all day. So actually, even if you mix it with what you have on the palette, we didn't nail it, but it got pretty close. So this can actually do the job pretty well, right? So there's your yellow ochre. Now let's say you didn't get burnt sienna, which is this other color over here, and you're trying to mix it. Okay, let's see how this goes. Now burnt sienna looks a bit more close to red, so you're going to pick some red. There's red. Then it looks darker than red. So how do we make it darker? Just pick a little burnt amber over here. Okay, then what next? Let's just try some blue and see what will happen. Then let's mix this, and if we figure out we need something else, we'll just add it onto our mixture. Okay, so what we've just mixed right now is a type of red known as magenta. It's actually too close to maroon, so we need to kind of neutralize this red and bring it closer to burnt sienna. And the way we're going to do that is either adding white or yellow. I'm assuming all you have when you're doing this is the primary colors. So we're going to add some yellow, then we'll see if we need some white after that. I think we need to make it a little lighter, then add even more yellow. Don't be afraid to do this. And right there, I think we have ourselves burnt sienna. Okay, now let's start mixing the actual colors that are going to be in the painting. So back to our model over here. Now if you're mixing colors for a portrait, as I mentioned in a previous video when I was talking about how to paint a black person's skin, you want to start with something called a local color. Now our guy over here looks like he's going to need a lot of yellow ochre if you look at how his nose looks like. But then if you look at his cheeks and his forehead, it looks like there's going to be some orange needed as well. And to give his skin color that kind of warm glow, we're going to use some yellow. Yellow always does that job. It looks like a dark setting, so we're going to use the darker colors, some burnt sienna, and of course the darkest one, but not too much. Remember, we're trying to get the midpoint of where his skin color lies. So what we have here right now is closer to the color of his nose than it is to the color of the rest of his body, of his face, sorry. So we're going to add more burnt sienna and a little more orange. Now this is neutral enough. I think it can work. Now since we have the neutral color here, every other color will stem from it. So actually that's partly why I mixed so much of it, because well, that's part of it, but the honest reason is because I kept messing up and adding this and adding that, and so we ended up with more than we need. But you want to mix more of your neutral color than the other colors, because the darker shades and the lighter tints are going to come from the neutral color with a little yellow, white, burnt sienna or burnt amber added, until you get this nice progression from dark to light. And by the way, at the end of this video I'll show you how this painting went, because this video is about mixing the paint, but at the end of it I'll show you what the final result ended up looking like. Okay, now that we have a neutral color, let's mix the darker tones. So you're going to pick some neutral color here, place it over here. Then to darken it, you're going to add some burnt sienna. Remember now, these are the dark ones and these are the lighter ones, right? So you're going to add some burnt sienna. Because the shadows don't normally go from the neutral color all the way to the darkest color all of a sudden, there's normally some kind of progression. So then you're going to add some burnt amber to this. And this is going to be our transitional tone between the neutral color and the darkest one. Then for the darkest tone, which is going to be now the darkest shadows in the painting, we won't need to add anything. We'll just have burnt amber as it is. Now that we're going on to the lighter shades, we don't want these darker colors to contaminate the palette knife. So we're going to clean it on a piece of canvas, clean the other palette knife as well. Then we're going to go back to the neutral color. Remember, this is now our reference point. Then to make it light, remember this portrait seems to have a warm kind of feel to it. We're going to create that by using a lot of yellow. Then to make any color lighter, of course, you need some white. Then we're going to find the lightest part of this person's face. It's not white. It's almost never white, actually. Portraits look really weird when you use white in its purest form to paint the lightest parts. So unless it's explicit, so like in this case, you can see the only white part in this person's face is the reflection in his eyes all the other light parts are not white. And by the way, even though what we're mixing here is clearly not white, when you finally place it on canvas next to these other colors, it will look like white. So what you want in your painting is something called harmony. You don't want a color that stands out so much that it's distracting from the rest or it looks completely out of place. So now that we have our extreme dark color over there are obviously going to be cases, like I just mentioned, the reflection in his eyes, that will need actual white. And also along the way, you may need to mix some new colors. So we're going to put some extra white over to the side just in case we need it. And you may also need to make some parts or some colors warmer than others. So for that reason, we'll also put some pure yellow over here and some orange. We need to make some parts super warm. Then if you're painting, say, somebody's lips and his lips kind of look red or pinkish, you're going to need also pure red over here. And of course, if you want to create now that pink feel, it's just going to be a little red plus maybe a little of this neutral color, then maybe white. Now if you're painting, say, a white person's skin or somebody whose skin isn't this dark as the model we're using for this example, just know that all the colors you need are in this selection right here. Forget the blue, I was just using that to demonstrate how to get these two colors if you don't have them. But with these 7 colors over here, you can mix pretty much any skin color you want. So this is basically a nice palette for mixing the skin tones for a portrait as the one I'm using in this example. But if you're painting, say, a white person's skin, which is much lighter, now the neutral color will be something close to this, not this. But the basics are pretty much the same. So if this will be the neutral color, then the lighter areas will be even lighter than this, right? So let's take the neutral color, add a little bit of this, then add a little white. Still close to this one actually, but a little more pink. I don't know if the difference is visible. I can see it with my eyes. I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but there's a slight difference here. This looks a little more pink. Then now, since this is the neutral color, if you want to get now this version of it, again, let's remove this, then have the neutral color here. We're going to add more burnt sienna, just as we did with this other skin tone. Then a little burnt umber. This is the same as this, so it doesn't matter where you pick it from. If you want, you could make it even more red, again, depending on the picture you're using. Then for the very darkest colors, if you're painting black or white, it's just going to be the exact same. Just as on the other side of the spectrum, the very lightest color, whether you're painting black or white, is going to be white. And so there we have a palette when you're painting a skin tone. I'll make others in future on how to paint different things, and the very same principles I just mentioned there can apply to anything else you're painting. But I hope this helps you if this is what you're looking for. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.